What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for January 25th, 2020. Before we start, I want to apologize. I wasn't able to get ATC up this Sunday because something happened with the upload. On the render, there's audio on both tracks for me and Burks, but for some reason, it didn't end up on the YouTube video. I don't know why, so I'm going to re-upload it using a different renderer and try it out on Tuesday, so we can get some views on this video and on that video so it doesn't get suppressed by YouTube. Because I think if you post too many videos a day, it becomes a problem. Now, if this is your first Week in Review is where I take all of the official news from Star Citizen each week, pile them into one video on Monday, and insert my opinions in there. Also, I do live stream on twitch.tv/SaltEMike every day, but today, so I can get that video out to you guys. So make sure you stop by, check it out, and say hello. All right, jumping into the video, this is finally, we have content coming out of CIG. Planning week or month or year is still in progress, but we're starting to get some juicy stuff from them. Starting out with patch notes updates. We had a 3.12.1 PTU, and the first thing they did was something kind of surprising, that they removed Delamar. The planet was never supposed to be there in the first place, so honestly, this was a long time coming, and they said it was to improve performance. Personally, I had a horrible performance in the PTU regardless of whether it was removed or not, but that could be for any number of reasons, so let me know, did you guys see any improved performance or not? They also did some quality of life on EVA. They said they made a polish pass on it, which seems okay to me, but the rotations when you spin seem really powerful and maybe something that they missed. Are you guys having more trouble with EVA now, like me? I've definitely been struggling with it a little bit since the change. They made an attempt to fix the shopping service issues. As many of you know, there was all sorts of problems with inventory space, whether it was selling or buying inventory, and they're making a few changes here, but honestly, when it came to the PTU, they missed a few items. Basically, you couldn't buy any good weapons, any good shields, any good quantum drives, any components for your ship that were good were sold out completely on the PTU because the PTU was about XenoThreat and it was pretty combat focused. So we also had some bug fixes. The Star Runner should be scooping fuel properly again. Dominant scatter guns, this is a big one. They are nerfed, so that is good because they were killing an Idris solo and it just made no sense. Flame jumper missions should be fixed. Bounties shouldn't take forever to be spawned once you get there, which is a great one. They also fixed the Arlington bounty mission that was 45 credits. It's now 45,000 credits. Players also should no longer be able to duplicate mine gems, but I mean, this is also a problem with the refinery decks, so who knows. And again, link is in the description for this patch, for the patch notes, so there's a little bit more as far as bug fixing goes here, so make sure you guys check that out. They're testing XenoThreat, or they did test XenoThreat, I should say, on Saturday and Sunday this past week. They tested the first half on Saturday, which was really cool. That was the only part that I was able to check out, which was the delivery portion for the most part. And then the second part on Sunday, which was protecting the Javelin from XenoThreat. And personally, I'm really trying to wait and see this all when it goes live, but let me know what you guys thought about it if you did check it out. Now, instead of a roadmap update, which we haven't had since the first roadmap came out, I believe we do have a monthly report from them. They compiled both November and December into one monthly report here. I don't touch on everything, so again, link will be in the description. They started out with a noise filter, and this is something that is so obvious in every game that we play besides Star Citizen, right? Where you make a noise and an NPC reacts to it, but the further away, or if they're in a room, they can't hear that noise. This is a feature that they're adding to Star Citizen now, and this is not to knock on their development, but it's more to highlight just how far away we are to a finished product of Star Citizen, and to sort of like help you set proper expectations for this year and the years to come, because that's what it's going to be. The feature looks nice, and it's working, so that's cool, and the NPCs acted the way you would expect them to. Now, I wish they would act this way when I play the game. One day, guys. One day. For ship AI, they're enabling ships to use the new docking system. Really can't wait to have a much more living game, see NPCs flying around the major landing areas, docking, taking off, all that stuff. They also worked on gas cloud awareness for the AI as well. For social AI, NPCs can now figure out how to get through doors. I don't know if you experienced this when playing Star Citizen, but for me, the NPCs just get stuck at doors, whether they're open or closed, all the time. So that should help out with immersion a little bit more when at the landing zones. For ships, they give us a nice sneak peek on the exterior of the Hercules. It appears to be with the downstream teams now, which means they're working on things like damage states, LODs, how it flies, weapon, like all that kind of stuff. So the details now is what is being worked on for that ship. For weapons art, there was a lot of stuff in this blurb. Basically, there's a med gun, breach charges, a new electron rifle, new weapons and attachments were mentioned. We got a lot more detail on what a mounted gun is as well. So they've been talking about this for a little while, and we now know what it is. It's a weapons platform that is capable of carrying a size 1 ship weapon and is going to be used in FPS, which is pretty cool. It's nice to hear what that actually is going to be now. For reputation, we obviously know that there's reputation in the game. This has been the biggest highlight of 3.12, but they confirmed here that they'll be applying this to many other aspects of the game, and I can't wait. I cannot wait. Docking, they give us a good update on where it stands as well. They still have a lot of work to do when it comes to the Merlin and the Connie. I hope to see this in 3.13, but based on this, I would not be surprised if this was one of the features that fell off at this point. Turbulent. This is one we'll be watching closely over the next few months as they're the new Star Citizen studio. A lot of stuff related to this post, though, is what they've been doing in the past. Spectrum improvements, where they can send push notifications to you, this hex thing, which they've been talking about a lot of, and it seems like it's something that's like a bridge between the game and the database in the background. Moving on to video updates. We had an ISC this week, and they started out with the terrain modification system, and they basically are showing this tool that should add more life and detail to the planets. But before we really get into it, I want to start out with a clip that is why they need it in the first place.
In Star Citizen, we have many of these huge, intricate planets. And the way that we've been able to do that is, instead of storing each vertice of the planet like you would in a traditional level editor, we store height maps and other data about the planet and then build chunks of the planet around the player. But it did introduce the problem of us not being able to edit individual vertices of the terrain. That is where the terrain modification system comes in.
Because Star Citizen's so big, they can't make traditional levels. They have to sacrifice detailing for a time until they have this tool, it seems like. Now, let's see how it works.
So the terrain modification system works by placing modifiers across the planet. And when we build each chunk of the terrain, we check to see if any of the vertices intercept one of our bounding boxes. And if we do, that modifier applies a function to the Z coordinate of that vertice to offset it to a specific place that we choose. So for example, we've got here a smoothing area. We can move this around. We can see that it is smoothing out the ground. We can raise it or lower it. We can change its size and so on. And here I've got a crater, which we could flip and turn into a push-pull. We can change the scale and so on. And that's all happening by intercepting the mesh building system and applying offsets based on a function.
All really cool stuff, but I think what caught the community off guard was that this tool gives them the ability to make things like rivers. So let's check out a clip on that.
So using the same modification system, we can actually add water meshes to the vertexes. The first thing I did on this was a way to place river paths, because you can't start modifying the terrain before you know where the water's going to flow, where we're going to be able to essentially start off by placing a spring or somewhere where the water might come out of the ground. So I'm going to place that here. And you can see that it automatically starts working out the path of where the water would flow. So once we're happy with our river path, we can look at adding any contributing springs. So for example, we might have a bit more water flow coming from there, or I might choose to have a bit more water flow coming from there. And then we can score and clean the rivers. What this does is it works out a more detailed path between the nodes that the river's going to take. Once we're happy with the river system as a whole, we can place the geometry modifiers. Now the first thing this is going to do is we've placed some brown decals down to show that the terrain has changed, and we've actually modified the terrain to show the path of the river. But usually rivers have water, so let's add in some water. So this is just a programmer's take on this, and no artists have had any say in what I'm doing here. So by borrowing a slightly more lush preset from a different planet, we can see that we can create this really effective look around the rivers with far more trees and ground cover, just to really sell the idea that this is a river that has been here for thousands of years and is flowing through the hills of Microtech.
It was really cool to follow along, and before you guys chime in the comments, like, since my community tends to be more critical about the project, rivers are an essential part of topography on planets and moons that have liquid on them, right? So that rain, things like that, this is a must-have if we're gonna have our game Star Citizen. So before you start screaming priorities, understand that, like, this is one. This is absolutely a priority when it comes to anybody working on art, which certain devs work on art. Even though this guy said that I am an engineer, I'm not an artist, he still specializes in the planet tech. And if you're going to be working on the planet tech, rivers seem like a priority to me. Now, moving on for the video, they went into the combat summit. Honestly, they didn't say a whole lot here other than what they've been saying in the past, but I am going to highlight 2 clips here.
So the theme of this year's Combat Summit was really how we give the player control over all the systemic features we have in the game.
What we want is an environment where things make sense.
That choice allows players to approach different missions and different scenarios in different ways, and even the same scenario in different ways, which really expands the feel and the options players have.
Everything about is about choice. Everything is about choice based on the scenarios you plan on entering or are in. And this has been said a million times at this point, and that's what they mean by not wanting meta builds in their game. Your build should be based on what you're doing and what you plan on experiencing, not necessarily a best in slot type situation, like always use this quantum drive, always use this weapon, always use this shield, right? Another main focus will be how the ships fly when they're fighting each other. This has been a big problem for a long time in Star Citizen.
In this year's Combat Summit, we talked a lot about combat geometry, which is how ships fly around each other during combat, how they're going to fight each other.
One of the ways we wanted to improve the current flight model was with the addition of capacitors, which will make the actions players take during a dogfight more meaningful and have more of an impact on what they see and what they do. And capacitors really do that by sort of capping some of the behaviors as well as giving you an instant visual result and instant flight result.
Again, the way the ships fly and interact in combat has been a core issue for them for years. They didn't want strafe fighting, they don't want jousting, so they have a lot to figure out when it comes to what they want, and these summits are really important for that. They've also been talking a lot about capacitors, but still no like solid discussion on exactly what they will be. I think we can tell, but no visuals, and I expect to be seeing that more in the new year, probably with an ISC like specific discussion about it. Moving on though to Star Citizen Live. I won't be really touching on this here because there wasn't a whole lot to it, and yeah, I'm just gonna list off a few things that they said. Basically, new hair tech is their #1 priority. They worked on it for Squadron 42. They plan on bringing it to the PU, but they want choices for us. So there's like a few hairs that they have right now. Most of them are really like military style hair because Squadron 42. So they want to add more casual, regular hairs for us to choose, and they'll give them to us when they have a good amount of choices for it. After that, beards are going to be the priority. And another thing that, kind of stuck out to me was that there was a bug a while ago where you can wear clothing under your armor, and it looked really cool. For some of them, didn't look cool for others, and they want to make things like that possible in the future. But the thing about it is your flight suit is tied to your EVA system, so it would only work if the armor could not EVA, so you would only use it on like planets and stuff. They're also working on non-player characters. We saw among the reports in the past, like the Pyro Space Crab, so they kind of implied that that's what they were working on pretty extensively right now. Now moving on to other updates, we had a lore post about Addison, the new Imperator, and how she's settling in. We had a Delamar screenshot contest post saying goodbye to Delamar the way Star Citizen knows how to, with screenshots. So the winners are going to get a Star Runner, a Cutlass Black, and a Superior Talon. The sneak peek this week was the Moab bomb from the M2 Hercules. And finally, we had a letter, a Chairman's Club letter, which I think was a big red flag for me. They were asking what people from the Chairman's Club want out of the Chairman's Club, and all of them said they want special things for being in the Chairman's Club that are in the game. Now, I think players that are in the Chairman's Club are players that, you know, should be supporting the project for the sake of supporting the project, not for getting in-game perks necessarily. The in-game perk should be a thank you for supporting the project first and foremost, but this is highlighting that players like this want, I mean, every player wants special things. I understand why these are a priority. I just hope CIG looks at this and doesn't act and says, well, that's what they want, let's give it to them. Because just because it's what they want doesn't mean that it's detrimental to people who just buy an Aurora or a Nomad or anything that they've been promoting as far as the starting experience goes, right? I don't think this is very healthy for a gaming community. I think it separates the rich or the haves and the have-nots, and I think it's kind of problematic. And I am one of the people that are in the Chairman's Club. I got this letter, and I'm not happy with what I saw. I just think if the community was getting perks that are not ships, like the F7A, that are, were supposed to be things that were never going to be sold, and they were sold for $10,000 basically. It's kind of weird. So, giving this group more than what they already have, which is an echo chamber on the forum, ships that are never going to be sold like the F7, and things like that. If they add more to that, I feel like it's going to be a bit too much. What do you guys think? So we're going to end with that one here, and I really want you guys to think about that. People that are not in the concierge or the Chairman's Club, and people that are, chime in. Let me know, am I out of line here? Do we think that this could be part of a problem? I think there is, I think it is. I think it is a problem. I think that some Chairman's Club members are kind of, I don't know, getting a little bit toxic in terms of their standing with Star Citizen versus players who are not. So I think continuing to give those guys more things could be problematic in the future. But anyway, that again is where we're going to stop it here. So make sure you hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and subscribe if this is something that you think you would be interested in consuming as far as Star Citizen content goes. And yeah, check out my live stream and feel free to say hello. Have a great one, guys. Thank you so much for watching this week. Star Citizen is finally delivering content again.